I'm
right.
already fucking fatigued. Fucking
Yeah.
no sleep. Fucking
Oh, well,
bullshit.
speaking of fatigue, so um, I went up to visit my brother for his birthday over the weekend in Minnesota, and did a couple short skis and some hitting the slopes, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were up at Mistake Lake, and he introduced me to a couple of his friends, and I gotta say, man, my brother, like, I take after him in a lot of ways. That man has some cool fucking friends. Like, legitimately, I had kind of given up on like meeting people in real life that were like as cool as some of the people I know online, just as far as like, their life experiences and stuff. But I was talking to
For
these
sure.
these dudes. It was this guy and his wife. And his wife legitimately made me laugh so fucking hard. Like we're sitting in the hotel room and they're talking about like what we should get for food the next day. And she's like, "Oh, have you guys had Ethiopian food?" And we're like, "No." She goes, "Yeah, neither have they." And I'm like, "Holy fuck." Like this like unassuming nerdy like 30 something year old, like, dude, it was so funny, man. Like the whole weekend I was laughing my ass off.
Let's say it.
That's such a racist dad joke. I love
Right.
it.
I know, and it came out of this like 5 foot nothing like book nerd. Like, oh, dude, it was so funny. Like it's one of those moments where like it like ignites your hope in humanity. You're like, oh, people are still cool. Nice.
That's pretty much how I feel, or how I felt like meeting you guys, because I don't know how to meet human beings at all. So everyone I've met has been on accident or through another person. I've never like gone out of my way to like I want to be friends with somebody. It's
Yeah.
always just happened.
You don't lead into a casual conversation. It's just kind of like,
I don't like I'm severely autistic or something.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I really hate people. When I go places, especially like being into nerdy hobbies, when I go to those places, I hate everyone around me. I'm like, oh my God, all you guys suck.
Yeah.
Or like growing up in impoverished areas, all those people suck. Like I just don't like being anywhere around anyone. So I never met people who were just down to earth and fucking, except for like you guys. I'm like, oh shit, there are people out there that don't fucking suck entirely. Like
I don't know
very-
if down to earth is the right. I prefer people that
I
are
mean, okay.
closer to the stratosphere, if you know what I mean, right? Like,
How do I
like,
say
want,
this?
I want people to be so far removed from the societal norm
Oh,
that I have no choice but to orbit them in their chaotic energy.
you know what? I don't know how to define this, because I guess it's more like an ego versus like some of the people we know are definitely fucking space cadets and
Sure.
do their own thing, but like it's generally like they're not acting out of maliciousness or pure self-interest.
Right.
Like I feel like everyone's a fucking snake. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think growing up the way I did, my living situation at home wasn't always the best, so I definitely found like a respite in having friends from other, places and cultures and shit. So I've always used the term. I hate when people say like, "Oh, you're kind of like a social butterfly." Like that's gay as fuck. I'm a social vampire. Okay, because what I do, yeah, is I'll show up to a party. I'll meet like the two or three coolest people there, and I'll drain them for everything they're worth, and then I'll just leave them behind. Like, all right, yeah, that's all I needed from you. And like even my friends back in Cleveland, who are some of like my dearest friends in the world, like none of them come close to like the shit I talk to online. Like if I had to take off the mask for one moment in real life, it'd be like Goku fucking popping off, and the scouter would break on all of their
Dude,
faces. Yeah, it just wouldn't be fair.
I can't ever say a real thing around. So there was actually an incident here the other day where somebody went around and let a bunch of shots off, like gunshots. And all my coworkers were like talking like, oh, that's got to be an automatic. I wonder if there's, and I just wonder like, dude, there's no fucking, oh my God, have you never been shot at? Fuck.
Yeah.
Like I can't even talk. I literally like bit my tongue and just said nothing. They were like asking me questions and I just said nothing, like complete stone. Cause I'm like, if I say one thing, it's over for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I I called my coworker a fag the other day, and he kind of looked at me like, "Oh shit, we can like do that? And, like that's okay, right?" Like, and he's younger than me, but like so like he's kind of grown up in this like a little more PC culture, but
Yes, that's the same. Yeah, that's the exact same thing I have. Yeah, go ahead.
it's like I work in an automotive shop, and you're gonna hear some pretty fucking vulgar shit. Like it. What did he? One of them said to me. He said something about my mom. Like, oh yeah, I went and visited your mom the other night. I said, yeah, she put the strap on and peg you. And he's like, yeah, fuck you. You know, I was like, I don't give a shit. Fuck me, do it then, faggot. And it's like, oh my god, like there's some pretty vulgar shit. And when I said that to him, he's like, oh, okay, I can. All right, that sounds fun. And so, like, 2 days later, he's like, what's up, faggot? And it's like...
and you were like, no, dude, that's not cool. Don't use that word.
Like, all right,
so, you know? It's actually funny you said that. I had that same interaction at work the other day about getting pegged, but I was working at a preschool. I am no longer employed.
Montessori wasn't cool with that?
Man, what were you just saying about yeah, so like growing up the age I am, I'm right on the tip of like Zoomer and Millennial. Like I think 95 is actually when the border is. Yeah. So I'm like I guess to basically have the best and worst of both worlds, I can sort of dip my toes into the older generation, but then I also have to be wary because I'm younger. But like, you know, growing up the way I did, I was hearing vulgar shit left and right nonstop. So I just sort of embedded it into my system. And then when I started living on my own and like starting to get friends of my own age, I'm like, oh shit, this is a totally different vibe. And
yeah.
At first I was kind of bummed until I realized that everyone else was kind of doing the same thing. And I'm like, oh, you just have to get like comfortable enough with some people who are cool, and then they'll eventually be like, oh, you're fucked up too? Nice. And then you fist bump and you move on, right? No, but I had this thought in my head the other day. So I sat down and I reflected on something that I've started doing. And I think it's like one of those things where you know you're starting to mature and grow up. So someone, I can't remember where it was. Oh, yeah. So it was while I was in Minnesota. There was another person there that was not like a person I would hang out with regularly whatsoever. But they brought up a game that I really, really liked, like one of my favorite games of all time. And they're like, oh yeah, I just finished playing this over the weekend. It was great. And I opened my mouth to say something and I stopped and I physically restricted myself. And I'm like, you know what? The cost of me relating to this person about something that we may like in common versus the eventual burden of having to potentially have a conversation with them is not equal. Like, it's just not equal. So I realized that getting older is picking and choosing not only who you want your friends to be, but also who you even want to talk to. And saying no to myself in that situation filled me with this like righteous strength. And I was like, oh yes, I don't have to deal with this person ever if I don't want to. It was so sick.
That it's a real thing that somewhere along the line, the word friend has got fucked up to like mean anybody you know. Yeah. Which isn't the case. And not everybody is your friend, especially just somebody who likes one thing that you like.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're your friend. Like we've gone out of like, we're like not allowed to have an acquaintance anymore. Someone you know in passing.
I was just going to say, I use that word all the time.
Right.
I don't like, maybe that's because I'm cold hearted and I don't really give a shit about most people, but like I have no problem referring to somebody at like, even I've been to their house and we've hung out more than once or twice, you know, it's like, no, it's an acquaintance.
Right. It's there's like no divide anymore. You're supposed to be everybody's friend, and that's, you never actually know. It's so hard to actually know even one person deeply or anything about.
You think just you think there's like the advent of like social media, like the way they frame that?
You know what? I have a whole thing here where I don't know how last week we talked about, I had a retarded YouTube video go like semi-viral.
Yeah.
And it's like sitting at 110,000 views. And there is something I noticed that's similar to what we're talking about, where when it's comments, constant comments, right? And people, I can't tell exactly what age certain people are, but I can see the demographics of who's watching the video. And it skews fairly older, same age bracket as me. But you can tell the younger people comment as if I didn't. It's me playing a game, but they're commenting as if there's not a person involved here. Like
Right.
like they're talking about something they saw on TV to someone. They're commenting to me, and that's me playing the game.
Right.
So, like, to be specific, like, older people will be like, wow, you really did good on this part. And you, like, they're talking to me because it's me doing it.
Right.
Where, like, younger people have completely depersonalized it.
Right.
They're like, wow, that player should have done this. And I'm like, that's me, fucktard.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Like, it's, without getting too specific and deep into it, I mean, I can just see, like, they don't comprehend that, like, you upload your content and it's your stuff, and there's a human being doing it, and like to
Right.
them it's all just there, and it's somebody, and it's like they watch this, and it doesn't matter whose account it's on, it doesn't matter who it is, it's just a thing somewhere.
Yeah,
Like, there's no
they talk in comments like in the third person.
right.
Like, yeah, like
It's completely depersonalized, and it was so.
So it's a bit of a pendulum. There's extremes on either side, because with stuff like that, there definitely is a lot of depersonalization. I actually think that's a lot healthier than the other end of the road, which is like certain content creators will have like people reach out, like people they've never met, their fans, right? Will reach out to
Right.
them every day on like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, wherever. They'll like DM them, be like, "Hey man, how are you doing?" Like pretending as if they're friends, and it's like a parasocial type of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah, but I think that's probably
far less healthy than just pretending
Well,
like everyone
I think
is a
that
robot,
affects
right?
every.
Like,
You know, I think that affects everybody. Like the parasocial nature. I would almost say like the opposite end of the spectrum is when you watch a boomer use the internet, and they think
Yes.
everything is directed at them. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they get like the fucking advertisement, hot girls in your area, and they're like, oh okay, yeah, so I'll talk to her. Like,
Because I guarantee you, those people that are like contacting certain creators like every day over and over will also refer to other creators that they're not invested in like the third person. You know what I mean?
definitely.
this
Yeah,
is
no, it's
like-
definitely like a leech mentality type of thing.
So yeah, I think it is like it is a generational thing. I think it's like brings up a good point that
it's,
certain people will think a creator's content is directed at them, and they're gonna take it super personally, like,
right.
and like even though it's obviously not, unless it directly is, I guess. But
It's just something I noticed over the last week where I don't know exactly it's me playing a game, right? And people will comment, and I don't know if they're talking to me or if they're talking for other people who watch and are reading their comments. Like, who is the audience of their comment? They'll come in and talk about like an unrelated game or an unrelated thing, and I don't know what's going on. It's so weird, and it's these like really I think it's depersonalization where they don't understand. They've grown up with this shit, like a phone in their hand, an iPad in their hand, a laptop always on. They see people post anything that they find anywhere, so like they're not concerned with being original. They don't care about posting original content. They're like the people who will post another band's song, and then when it has 1 million views, they're like, "Thanks for 1 million views, guys," but they didn't do anything. You know,
Yeah.
they uploaded somebody else's song. Like, they're so removed from the fact that it's an actual human being on the other side of this interaction that they don't even comprehend that it's another human being playing the game if they don't see their face.
Let me get really Freudian with this.
okay.
Can you really say it's another human being on the other end when you treat them, not you specifically, but when the assumption is that everyone treats each other the same way? Like, the name of the game when it comes to internet humor has always been irreverence, right? Like, whoever can be
Right,
more
right.
irreverent and rebellious is funnier. And so when you actually try to show not even compassion, but just any kind of like empathy or signs of forming a connection, it usually is like not going to work out for you because everyone's just going to clown on you. Like Twitter's a great example. So these people are commenting like this, maybe not purposefully or consciously of this, but I think it's definitely a part of the culture. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing because it's its own separate thing. Because there's no shot that any of these people that will comment like gay on a YouTube video, there's no shot any of them go up to like two people having a conversation, listen for 30 seconds, and then just be like, ha, gay, and then walk away. Like they don't do that in real life. So I think the internet can't really be used as a barometer for people's
let me put this,
I guess.
Well, no, let me put this example to you because I'm not talking about like being trolled or something. So if somebody, because I definitely got a share of like hate comments and shit too, because there's people like, so an older generation person might say something like, oh, you fucking retarded faggot, you know, but they understand like they're trolling a person and they know it. Whereas a younger person will be like, this player is a fucking faggot. Like there's a disconnect with what they're even. It's not about the tone or the content or like of their message. I'm not like, it's about like, I don't think they fully comprehend, like they've been reprogrammed is kind of what I'm getting at. Like their behavior is similar. They can say the same thing, but how they're referring to another, like the word you almost specifically doesn't exist in their vocabulary. They're like, they don't, like they're commenting, not understanding that it's a human being who like even if they're trying to troll, they don't even know they're like trolling me. Like that's me in the video. Like they're just, they've lost that. Like they can be saying the same thing, but they're not directing it at me.
They're casting a wide net because they're waiting for somebody to bite.
Right. There's no, they're not saying you faggot, you suck. They're like, this person sucks. This player sucks. They suck. Like they're on my page commenting on my shit on my video, but they don't even understand that. They're like, that's like missing from their mentality.
Well, right. Because they don't see it as your page.
Right.
They're out there like they're trying to throw out an opinion because they know they're probably not going to be able to like actually troll you. But
right, because I mean, I just don't give a shit. Like,
yeah,
like,
well,
whatever,
but what they're doing is they're out there like, oh, this player sucks, and somebody's gonna have an opposite opinion of that, and then they're gonna try and continue that troll. They're trying to like garner, how do I want to say it? They want the attention from someone, and in order to do that, like. I can just go on this person's page. It's getting pretty well received. I can throw out the opposite opinion. You know, someone's going to respond to it.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, JR, but this other co-host is kind of going retarded right now, and it's super cringe.
Yeah,
that is. I've always been retarded, so the joke's on you.
Yeah, it's been cringy my whole life.
I was born in the cringe. You merely adopted it.
There's another word, right? Like, there's another word that's been so stripped down by its overuse. Like, everything you do has a chance to be cringe. Whether or not it actually is does not matter. It's all about the timing and the presentation, right? Like, you could post, like, you winning like a Division 1 fucking basketball one-on-one tournament for like $10,000 in a full ride, and someone will be like, "Lamau, cringe," and you're like, "Fuck, are they right?" Because like, again, it's about the irreverence thing, but it's also about like you need to be super careful. Well, I preface this with saying like if you care about the response, which it's much healthier to not. But if you care about the response you'll get online, you need to be very careful with how you craft anything you post, because if you show any ounce of like, not even vulnerability, but like if you show that you care about something that you did rather than just throwing it up, people will immediately be like, Lamau, cringe. He actually like does stuff.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Go for it.
I got one. So
Talking about cringe,
in like 2011. I think it was about 2011. I actually posted a thing about my weight loss on the 4chan Fit board because I was feeling myself so much I didn't give a fuck. I was like, whatever, I lost. They can roast me, and it went over. It actually went so well, and somebody, everyone's anonymous, so I expected tons of hate and garbage. Only one person was like, "You were still fat, fuck." Like, I don't even know what it was. Like, "You fucking faggot," blah blah blah. Just a bunch of stupid shit like that. Everyone in the thread piled on and roasted him. It was like, it was the sickest shit. Like, I think that, like, even if it is kind of cringe, there like, people can get behind genuine achievement and
True. To be
genuine
fair,
things.
and I'll just butt in here. I think, and this might just be my age showing, but from my experience on the Chans, fit has always been kind of a outlier in that, like, there's not a hierarchy necessarily, but there is definitely like a unspoken rule of like, hey,
Well,
this is the whole reason people are here, and like, if someone does the thing that everyone else wants to do, you just kind of have to give props. I agree
right.
with you that it's surprising that there wasn't more hate, because that's just, again, it's kind of the name of the game. But I think fit has always been a weird, like, an exception to the rule type of thing,
Well,
because you can go on any
you,
other board and post like a masterpiece of like something that's
oh,
like
sure.
in, yeah, like in relation to that topic, and everyone will clown on you no matter what. But fit has always been like, oh shit, this person actually did everything everyone here is talking about, and showed fucking proof. So yeah.
But so you know what? That, like, so when you were talking about the hierarchy, there's one law of fit that has kind of permeated everything and has made my life better. And that's the phrase post physique.
Yes.
So if you have an opinion about anything, if
Yeah.
I don't like it, I just say post physique. Like, let me,
Yep.
what do you look like? Like,
Yeah.
if you're not fucking jacked, I don't give a shit what you say. So, like, that's how I've, like, lived my life on the internet now since then. I just,
Kids
like,
to get the fuck
right,
off.
right. I mean, like, but, like, really, if somebody's like, they're like, blah, 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 Karl Marx, blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, what's that? Can't hear you over my flexing.
I can't hear you over this PR.
You see my
This
avatar?
450
That's me.
deadlift. Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. I've been talking about this for a long time. Like, that phrase. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I live by it. Where it's like, born too early to explore outer space, born too late to explore the uncharted world, born just in time to shitpost on the internet.
Yeah.
It like, it's a meme, but it's definitely got some truth to it, because there is a lot of
Definitely.
special things you can do on the internet that you would just are inconceivable at any time prior to the creation and kind of the evolution of it. Because, like, all right, so I'll go ahead and give you a good example, right? So remember when like, everyone was young and people would be like, oh, don't talk to strangers online? I basically did the opposite thing. I was
Right.
like 14. No, I was like 13, I think. And it was summer of me going, I think, into like 7th grade. And I've always been a little bit older than my classmates, because, I was held back a year because I literally couldn't speak English, and so I had to learn the language. Um, and during that summer, I I don't remember what happened. I think I got sick, or I got hurt, or just
Molested?
maybe, like, maybe
Diddled.
it's some sort of, like, hidden away trauma. But I
Repressed
spent the
memory.
most of the summer inside. And, like, usually during summers, I would go hang out with my friends. We'd play games. We'd go to LAN centers. We'd get drunk, do whatever. But it was before kind of my wild party phase, and a little bit after my, like, youthful sports phase. So I basically just sat inside, bored as shit. And I did a bunch of stuff. I played World of Warcraft. Uh, I was just messing around online. I was going on 4chan. One thing I did, though, is I went online and I was on GameFAQs, which, for those of you who were not around for GameFAQs, before Reddit homogenized internet forums into one place, GameFAQs was the place to go if you wanted to, like, talk about video games. And it was labeled as like a tips and strategy type of site, but everyone was just kind of shit posting, and it was like 4chan and Reddit is now, but much more like labeled and like forcefully courteous, I guess. And I met a guy on there who had a his like forum signature, which is like an automated post after your post, was a link to a role playing website for this game called Clive Barker's Jericho. Okay. Now, for the 5 of you out there that have played it, that game is sick. But for those of you that haven't, it's a first person shooter. It's a single player first person shooter where you play as this thing called Jericho Squad, which is a group of people that work for something called the DOW. It's the Department of Occult Warfare. And it's basically like Aleister Crowley and a bunch of people during like World War II got together and found out that Hitler had access to paranormal like superpower, basically. They seized it,
So,
captured it, and
real
have been
World War II.
using it.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. They seized it,
This
they
is
captured
Medal of
it, and
Honor.
they've been using it to make like super soldiers to fight off shit. So, long story short, it's a cool little game. But I played the game and I was a really big fan of it, and I'm like, what is this? I'd never heard of role playing in my life. This is before I fucking did D&D or anything. And to cut a long story short, I met like 2 or 3 of the coolest people I know, and for some of them I still talk to this day, off of that website. And the one guy that I met lived in Canada, and he was like the coolest guy I've ever met. There's like a 12-year age gap between us. Like I think I'm pretty sure he's like 37 or 38, and I'm 26 now. So when I was 13, he would have been like 25, which in any other circumstance,
Which
that's
is a crime.
very weird, right? Yeah, that's a crime for those people to just talk. So we were doing like text-based role play of like what our characters would do and stuff. And the word cringe comes to mind immediately because back then it didn't exist. So I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And I basically learned how to like write, how to be a soliloquist, and how to do all this other stuff. More importantly, though, I became friends with this guy. Turns out he's like super loaded due to circumstances I can get into or not, if you guys are wondering. And like a year later, he sends me like $1,500 worth of PC parts for my birthday, and I build my first gaming PC out of it. Like,
That's
that
tight.
shit wouldn't happen anywhere else. Like pen pals sending you like that shit wouldn't have happened in any other part of history. That was so
That's
fucking
true.
crazy. My parents were like, "Where did this shit come from?" I'm like, "Canada." Can you fucking believe it? I was losing my shit, and I was like, I was so thankful to him, and he was like, "It's not a big deal. That's literally not even a paycheck for me." I'm like, "All right, cool." So
That's
yeah.
cool though. I mean, when I got a little bit older, I started just meeting strangers off the internet. It was still kind of like you're not supposed to do it, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Met a lot of local musicians and stuff that way. It would be like you would add them on AOL Instant Messenger, and then they'd be like, "Come out to the show," and then you'd go out. And I hung out. I don't know what was from 16 years old to like 19 years old. I went to fucking local shows like every week.
Yeah.
I don't know what came over me, possessed me to go out in public.
Fucking hawking video games at the pawn shop to get money
Right.
to go to the show.
Yeah, I would sell everything I owned to get money for tickets, but it was at a time where like people who are relatively famous now or would have been more famous if they're not dead. I met them, and it's like I got to do a lot of cool shit just because I was online and knew a guy who knew a guy, and yeah, just stuff like that I don't know how I would have ever made happen had I not had that level of communication.
But I mean, kind of coming full circle a little bit, like you guys did have that one thing in common, and it's like, oh, you are kind of fucking annoying. I guess, I mean, you're cool enough and all, but like, I don't really want to be friends with you, but we can talk,
Right.
you know? So,
Right.
like, yeah. I feel like I'm like way older than both of you because I don't use the internet. Like, I'm so like tertiary. Like, I follow all these like Twitch, YouTube streamer people, and I enjoy listening to their content, but I'm like, I wouldn't even know how to like
It's
reach out to them.
you know, it's almost different, or like I was always just enamored by tech.
Yeah.
Like the idea of what the internet could be and what it should be, which is freedom of information and freedom of communication. So I actually don't have a Twitter account, not even a junky one. Like, I do not have a Twitter. I don't fucking post anywhere on anything. I had a Reddit account that I used to post once every like 5 years when I do something worth posting.
Yeah.
Like I have built a weather channel. Then I want to show that to people so it gets a little traction. I like to create things that, to me, that's the spirit of the internet. I create things and share them. Other people should do the same,
Cringe.
not just consume. What?
Super cringe.
It is cringe.
I did take. I've not that I was like against it, but kind of. But I did finally get a Venmo today. I don't know what your opinions are. Mine was like.
Are you waiting for a round of applause?
I don't have one because I won't give them my information.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I don't want all this bullshit. Like I don't want another access point to not. I mean that I have any money to really take, but it's like, and to be honest, I don't do anything on the internet, so like. Not that I want you to have my information, but like
I fucking hate it when people are like, I want to sell something or whatever, and they're like, "What's your Venmo? What's your Cash App?"
Yeah.
I'm like, no, greenbacks only. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
You give me that Skrilla, you give me that guap, you give me that cheddar. You don't give me fucking decimal points on the screen. I want them.
You guys are so far removed from. All right, here's of having to pick between convenience and security. I am like the fucking Mark Stewart of online entertainment, okay? I have a Venmo, I got the Cash App, I got the PayPal, I got everything. When Street Fighter 5 came out on a PC, people were like, yo, be careful, this shit installs a kernel level rootkit on your system. I'm like, sign me up, baby. I'm trying to flex on my Ryu. And I fucking did it. And like same thing, I have 15 antiviruses that collect my information. I got 10 fucking Bitcoin mining shits on my system from games I've downloaded, I'm sure. You have to understand, if they get you in one place, they'll get you in every place. There is no chance you can interact with this world whatsoever without being pillaged, at least in a part of it. Now, that isn't to say you should be stupid about it. You should definitely take care of your information and try and privatize it to the best of your influence. But what's even better than that is to falsify some of that information.
Oh,
so
yeah,
so on most of my shit that's online, one or two things are like off that will completely throw off the trail. And I'm not going to point those things out, obviously, but there are certain things that I post, or not post, but there are certain things that I sign up for with like an email account that's like my first and last name. But then it's like something's weird about it. And then there's other things where I'll sign up for something that's really official and I'll use everything correctly, but it'll be the wrong address or something like that, right?
So you've just completely confirmed why I'm a boomer, because I try to stay off the internet, but when I have to use the internet, all my shit's the fucking same.
So
exactly.
Because I'm on a different like level than all this shit. Like, okay, first off, I don't have a bank account. I don't have a fucking bank account. I do use credit unions, but I will not use a bank. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, fuck all of that.
I so respect that, and at the same time, I need you to understand that's not good.
I don't have a fucking bank account either.
No, dude, I have money. Like, if you like,
no, I'm sure of that.
I can send it digitally, but I can do it. I mean, I have cash, crypto, I have credit, like, but I don't have a bank account. I will not have one. I do not need one. A credit union functions identically to a bank, but I will not ever have a bank account. And
wait. So, hold on. How do you differentiate between a credit union and a bank? Like you specifically,
a credit union gives you have ownership in the institution.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And they have a vested interest in. It's like, how does a fucking bank make money? You have to think about that. Mm-hmm. Banks don't generate money. They have money that you give them. They generate money off your money. They're using your money. And if there's there's a federal insurance program, so like up to 100,000 or whatever you're supposed to get in an emergency. But the reality is, if a bank closes its doors, you're fucked. It's not your money once it's in there.
Yeah, and it's happened before, so it's not like you're just making shit up.
And
so a federal credit union they're the ones getting money directly from the
Right.
Federal Reserve,
Right.
and so they can't really.
There won't be a default without the government collapsing
Right.
I see.
entirely.
Okay,
And
that
so
that makes
I,
sense. Yeah, that
So
makes
so
some
they're
sense.
not part of the whole fractional banking
Right.
system.
So I do not have a bank account. And people are always like, how do you fucking live? And like, dude, I can do everything. I just don't have a bank account. I don't go to a bank.
I had US Bank a long time ago, and I completely X'd them out, and that was a fucking like 3-year process to like get them to like stop bugging me or stop charging me shit that like it's like, no, I pulled my money out, like fuck you. But I didn't even realize I've been at a federal credit union my entire life. So the one bank I was associated with, I'm no longer associated with, and I've been with a credit union. So yeah, I've never had a bank account in my life.
I have a
Well,
friend.
I had one, but
So I have a friend online. Well, friend is that word again. I have someone that's like posts a lot in my other Discord and stuff, who I talk to every so often. And this is not a meme. Back in the day, he used to use GameStop as a bank. What he would do
I've
is he would go to GameStop and he would put down a pre-order on like 10 different games, multiple copies of the same game that wasn't out for like a year. And it'd be like $500 or something, right? And whenever he needed money, he would just go to the GameStop and be like, yo, let me cancel 3 of those pre-orders. And they just give him like $180. And then he would just leave. Like, no cap, that's maybe smarter than using a bank because first off, there's no interest.
long
There's
as
no
GameStop
chance of a
doesn't go
late
under.
fee or any fucking, like your account can't dip under. They're open 7 days a week, unlike banks.
Yeah, they're open on
yeah,
holidays.
if he could have converted that into like stock dividends back in the day, like think where he'd be at right now.
Right.
Dude, exactly. Like just pump $50 million into a GameStop in pre-orders, and just before you do it, maybe throw a couple of money towards fucking that stock listing.
We're gonna get into the stock thing now, just because we brought up GameStop and stocks, and we're talking about banking.
Yeah.
So first off, GameStop made me a pretty penny.
Really?
I was buying that shit at like $5 and like $5, $15, $20. I was re-upping. I'm still invested in it. This is proof. First off, people continually conflate the ideas of the economy and the stock market. The stock market is not the economy. The stock market is fake.
Yeah, it's a game.
There is, if you ever wanted proof that markets are fake, you could have a fucking PhD in fucking mathematics and market analysis, and it's worthless because it means nothing. You literally can't outtrade computers, which are trading like billions of times a day. There's nothing you can do about it, and a market can move irrationally in any direction it wants, as proof of what you've seen the last, how long has it been? Like 5 years of a continuous bull market. It has been almost impossible to lose money on the stock market in the last 5 years, unless you're really trying and playing really dumb options. Like if you just threw money, like name any relatively large company, like just even like name one.
OnlyFans.
If they were publicly traded, you made a fuck ton of money. You would have made a fuck ton of money because they raised a whole bunch of capital. It's like there's not anything you lost money on. You invested in fucking Facebook, Tesla, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, but even like AMD, I made just like all kinds of shit. You throw money into anything, it just printed money. And at the same time, the U.S. government is printing trillions of dollars. Like the whole system is completely fake.
Yeah.
And it means nothing. So I watch like the only market show I'll ever watch is like the Fox Business market analysis, because I like Charles Payne. Shout out Charles Payne. He's the fucking dopest. He's so sick. he's so quick to point out the irrationality of markets where everybody else is like, these retail traders are so stupid with Robinhood. And I'm like, but that's the whole point. You put money in a company you believe in. It doesn't mean the company does well, but if the stock price goes up, that doesn't mean people are dumb. That's the market functioning as it should.
Yeah.
These guys just don't like it that you can get in on it now. They don't like it that you don't have to know, you don't have to like know how to do it. Cause you know what a pain in the ass it was to invest prior to, well, even prior to Robinhood, the like big like TD Ameritrade and all that, those online interfaces are fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
To make a fucking order. And I'm surprised we haven't seen regulation because Robinhood looks like a fucking pachinko machine.
For a reason.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's
looks
really bad.
so when people I'm gonna come out and say like I don't have a ton of money because I'm fucking broke because I'm dumb. But I have like 600% gains on the stock market. But if I could play roulette on my phone, I would just do that instead all day.
I got a Keno app on mine. Thank God it's not linked to any bank account, but I'll sit there and play Keno for 45 minutes. It's like this is the most boring fucking video game ever.
Fucking like Robinhood is just bright red and green.
Yeah.
And it's like, would you like to throw $1,000 at fucking this? I'm like, yes. And then I do it and then I'm done. And then it's like, you're up 200%. Like, cool. Cash out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a fucking casino on my phone.
I am a little behind on all this stuff. I've never been one to. I don't like putting money anywhere where I don't know exactly what's going to happen to it, where it's going to go. For example, gambling. I do every so often. Well, yeah, but here's the thing: gambling makes sense. Gambling, I put my money on black, it shows up red, I lose. I put my money on black, it shows up black, I win. Right? Slots are a different story, but even then, slots, I get that this thing will pay out if this, that, and the other happens. Whether or not it does or doesn't is completely up to the gods above and the people that program this machine, right? So when it comes to stocks, I'm so out of my league that I don't ever like putting money. Like even if it's 100% guaranteed gain, I'm so skeptical about shit like that I always believe the foot's gonna fuck or like the other foot's gonna drop at some point, right? So I have my money sitting in a high interest or a high risk savings account or whatever. I have a couple fucking dollars sitting away in a mutual fund that's slowly generating money. And that's good enough for me because otherwise I'm cool with just making my money as it is and then spending it as it is. When it comes to stuff like stocks and everything like that, I feel like, and this has definitely been programmed into me by the fucking regime, I definitely feel like I shouldn't have a part in that because like
that's exactly
it feels too
what they
cheap.
want you to think.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, and
Nancy
they're doing a good
Pelosi,
job because I
insider
definitely
trading
won't
every
ever.
fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely won't ever get into that. It's just too scary for me.
So
You want to hear my black pilled
I also
version
have
and my
a very
white pilled
addictive
version?
personality, which is part of why I don't want to do it. Yeah, hit me.
sure.
This is the black pilled version of this is that everything just continues on the way it's been going.
Right.
The white pill version, it all fucking collapses. And anybody with any ounce of like actual ability, skill will thrive.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain this to my dad and one of his buddies, and I was trying to talk to him about anarchy a little bit, and they kept referring back to like the state and like like I tried to explain crypto to him and decentralizing all this stuff and like why you're putting all your faith in this, and they just kept going back to the Constitution. It's like no, the fucking forget about that.
The first thing you have to explain is the Constitution is not government. It is limitation of government.
Yeah.
It is what the government cannot encroach on is the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, like, the government did a great job of flipping that narrative and making it seem like
destroyed that in the school.
Yeah.
The Constitution is a limitation of government.
Yeah.
And they've got people fucked on this.
Yeah.
It's specifically designed. This is what a government cannot do.
yeah.
And
Yeah, you ask anybody.
it's
What's
not
the
to give-
purpose of the Constitution? They will never say to limit the government.
It's always like, well, it's the laws of our nation.
Yeah,
and
it's-
no,
no,
it is.
It's my rights as a citizen of this. No.
It's so. What's so? This is the real 1984 psyop of all this shit. Is that these writings are public and available in government institutions in the Library of Congress. I mean, if you have any collected books of letters from Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, like to all the founding fathers and Patrick Henry, they are very, very clear of all of their intentions.
Yeah.
They're very clear of the meaning of all of this. There's no debate about any of this being said. They're very clear. Like, this is the government shall not do these.
You
things.
had to really think about what you were
Yeah.
fucking writing because ink wasn't cheap and the fucking pen wasn't cheap
Right.
and the knowledge to put the words on the paper wasn't fucking cheap.
Right. And
So like, yeah, they had to be very deliberate.
this was and they've really got people fucking believing like, oh, it's the laws and it's just this is what you do, and it's like, wow, we're
Yeah.
so fucked.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
experiment failed
Yeah.
because people just, I don't know, man. They just believe whatever is. People know they're being lied to. People are not dumb in that way. They know they're being lied to. It's just that the act of having to think deeply about it or trying to change anything it's a prospect that requires effort and because I'm so dated. I was gonna say like fucking Will and Grace is on TV. That was like 30 years ago. I don't fucking know what's on TV. I don't watch TV.
Followed up by Frasier.
There's probably a reboot. There is a Frasier reboot coming out. That's going to be hype.
But yeah,
I don't know what to do with them tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
It is crazy to me how like, yeah, people like per their convenience are so willing to like, I wouldn't even say ignore like what's going on, but also go out of their way to call anybody that believes in that a fucking retard.
Right.
You know, it's like
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not even saying like do your own fucking research, but it's like, yeah, there was an idea for this like whole thing, and it's kind of fallen by the wayside.
but the founding fathers could never have predicted tattoos.
Yeah, that
Fucking idiot.
there was a meme online. I'm not even gonna take credit for this, but like it was one guy holding a machine gun and it said our founding fathers didn't expect this or didn't anticipate this, and then the next one was a picture of like Facebook, Twitter, fucking podcasts, said, and they also didn't anticipate this. You're referring to the First Amendment. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit. So, like, if you're gonna try and take away gun rights or whatever because of like, yeah, fucking machine guns, then
always take logical issue with this because the founding fathers of this nation and those Enlightenment philosophers were not retarded.
yeah,
They knew mankind went from fists to sticks and stones to bow and arrow, or to spear to bow and arrow to gun. They are very forward thinkers. Fucking Ben Franklin was an inventor extraordinaire.
yeah.
To think these people didn't have the mental capacity to think that, wow, someday we're going to communicate faster, because I've seen the written language be developed and I've seen letters being sent and ships built, and it's such a weird perspective to think people had no foresight.
Yeah.
Like, people in old times were just so stupid and they couldn't think of anything.
Like, think of all the people that fucking just sit and pontificate about what's going to happen in the future. Hell, all AI is going here, blah, blah, blah is going here. It's like, so these guys didn't think about, well, maybe the machine gun or the gun is going to get more advanced here. Or, yeah, like you said, letters travel by horse. Well, maybe there's something that will be developed faster than a horse, you know? Like, well, that might be a tough one because unless they discover a new fucking animal, I guess at that time they would have thought. But, like, yeah, like you said, to have such a, like, narrow view of, like, our ancestors, like, they couldn't have imagined, and they probably couldn't have, but, like, they knew something different was going to come in the future.
And it's not about, like, the masses being able to imagine it, but that people think that nobody thought of these things.
Right.
Like there was no such thing as anybody who could see past themselves in the moment. I know that there was a certain point where man had to switch from a more animalistic nature and diverge where they could have the ability of foresight, but like that's also probably what's always separated man from animal is the ability to think. Not just having thumbs, not just having this, but we have the ability to think ahead a few steps.
Yeah.
That we're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, we're not the fittest, but we survived and thrived.
Yeah.
Because we have that ability to perceive the world around us and use it to our advantage and create. So that whole argument that they could have never predicted this. Are you fucking kidding me? It's probably their fucking wet dream.
Yeah.
They probably woke up like, dude, I wish I could kill 50 of them at once.
Yeah.
Someone, a wise man once said, the founding farters wrote the Constipation, and I think that's a good send-off point to that. Towards what you were saying about, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna posit kind of a question to you guys and see what you'd think, okay?
Okay.
Do you believe that on the current, and this is going to be really kind of big picture thinking, but do you believe that on the current sort of road that humanity at large is taking, do you think that we'll ever make it off the planet Earth and like colonize outer space and our solar system? And
Yes.
and yeah, okay,
But-
JR, what do you think?
But not. Oh,
Me?
Yeah, what do you think? Just like if things keep going
No.
exactly the way
So-
they are now.
No, I don't think it will.
Here's why I'll tell you you don't want this though. You are going to be Jeff Bezos' slave on an asteroid mining platinum.
Okay, so
Like-
I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
All right,
So
let's get
here's
into this.
all right. So now that we've gotten the first part out of the way, I'm actually curious to hear why you think otherwise, JR. But I'm going to ask again in a second. So that's kind of the second part of my question. Do you think it is worth it? Should we continue down this path to even get to that? Like my question basically comes down to: is humanity worthy of being able to colonize outer space and basically start their galactic journey if we do not at first create a equal and utopian society? Because I think the answer is yes, 100%. Kind of going back to what you were saying about humans, there's two things that I think set us apart from animals. Number one is the ability to think, and number two is the ability to create insurmountable violence. There is no
Yes.
other race of a creature that is more violent than a human being. Violent not just in like physical ways, but also in like just terrestrial ways. No fucking
until
lion can
chimps
ever
get
say
nukes.
they fucking dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. I'll just say
Right.
that, right?
Right.
I think that alone, in the most base primal of ways, basically affords us the capacity to do whatever we want. We will have to then fucking reap the consequences of what we sow, but
Yes.
having that power is what gives us the ability to even think like that in the first place. So it's definitely a bit of a give and take. So yeah, I mean, if I have to see my fucking my great grandchildren, farm fucking platinum for God Emperor Bezos in his 500th term or whatever, honestly, I still think it's worth it, because the alternative is what? We die out on Earth and the planet just
Right.
rots? No, I'm not cool with that. I don't want to see humanity fade ever, because they're the best thing that's ever happened to anything.
And so the cool thing about that future too is what you'll see is like the Mars colonists will eventually have their own, like society. And I bet
And
it plays out.
They're gonna
like,
rebel like
lot
a motherfucker.
well,
It's gonna
right,
be
it's
so
going-
sick when they do.
It's gonna play out like the colonies did in the U.S. They're gonna
Yeah.
be like, why is the fucking the global United Nations taking all of our resources from Mars back to Earth and just sending us back rations? Why don't we just use it here? And then the UN is gonna be like, because I'm guessing at that time, like the whole Earth is fallen under one giant empire. It's like the Amazon flag, and Mars is gonna stop sending their resources back, and then Earth will be like, nah, you have to give us that. That's why we put you there. And they're like, nah, come get it. And then we send an armada, and they bomb it out, and like Mars becomes independent of Earth.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be so dope. I'm gonna defect to Mars.
Okay, so I have a bit of a philosophical thing to go off on this, but I want you to understand that I think this makes perfect sense. So have you guys ever heard that thing about like it's like the fucking palindrome about humanity? It's like the hard times create strong men create good times, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So it's hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. So it's a circle, right?
Right.
Here's the thing. I don't even think we have to get to Mars. Get to the moon. Make the moon an orbital station where we send out all of our future not just colonists, but our exploration missions, our fucking like major military testing for, I'm talking weapons of like far more mass destruction than what we have the limitation to have on Earth. Because I think if we get to shoot something in space without any fear of what it does to Earth, shit's going to get really cool really fast. And here's the thing. If Earth is right now, I would argue, in one of those weaker states, imagine how powerful the people that grow up and live their entire lives, not even on Mars, just on the moon will be. Because here's the thing. When you live on a place like the moon, where order has to be the number one thing for anyone to live, because here's the thing, if you have anarchy on Earth, yeah, maybe some people die, some land gets raised, a nuke gets dropped, whatever. On moon, if that shit happens on the moon and one person decides to fucking, just set off a bomb, everyone's dead. Because if there's any
Right.
exposure to the atmosphere, you're all gone. There is no atmosphere. But if there's any exposure to the fucking vacuum of outer space, everyone's dead. So order becomes the number one hierarchy, right? So imagine how disciplined and powerful and I would
Space
almost
Nazis.
say zealous
Say
the
space
people
Nazis.
that like zealous the people that grow up on the moon will be, as opposed to the
Right.
people that are on Earth. Like they will look at us as if we are hedonistic, languishing
Right.
fucking elephants
Peasants.
just grazing upon our land, right?
We're the
And
monkeys.
we'll be ripe for the fucking picking. It's gonna be so hype. It's gonna be so fucking sick. I cannot wait.
Dude, I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I want space conflict to happen sometime
In my lifetime.
In my
Yes.
life, yeah.
Yes,
And
same.
with China completing that new like low orbit hypersonic missile, then like I'm so fucking ready. They're like, yeah, we can just cruise this bitch anywhere on Earth. Like, so I saw this fucking meme where it's like they posted two news articles side by side, and one is China's new hypersonic missile is designed to be fired from like a cargo carrier, like cargo ships. And then the next article was like, I don't know what it is, like a fucking like 250,000 cargo ships docked outside of the U.S. unloaded.
Yeah.
It's like,
I had a conversation
okay.
with my coworker about that, and it's like they were talking about like
Just destroy the entire country tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's all
they're like,
full of
it's-
hypersonic test missiles.
they're just waiting for like, well, not only that, and then you can deploy whatever extra men you need, like D-Day out of the cargo. Like they're literally like whatever's being unloaded has the people in it, and then you have missiles sitting on ships out in the ocean. So yeah, they can send them out to the middle of the middle of the United States, blow up the middle section, and then just take care of the coast with people.
I would not mind if they glassed California tomorrow.
Most of the West Coast, fuck it.
Why are we not living underground yet? That's so it'd be so much better, I think, for
Our
everyone.
ancestors are.
Well, that's because the reptiles are there. They kicked us out.
They're waiting
That's
for us to destroy ourselves, and then that's when
Right.
they come out of the ground and retake the earth because they got pushed under by the apes.
Right. And they
So that's the reason I say no to us going to anywhere else, is that we're going to destroy ourselves,
That was
and
maybe the most
the-
schizophrenic 30 seconds of conversation ever recorded
the lizards
on the
are
history
gonna
of this
are
planet.
gonna retake the Earth.
Well, yeah, if
Yeah.
you go subterranean, there's a whole race of reptilians that are hostile.
Yeah,
to
it's the Underdark, and fucking Driz de Warden is there trying to protect Menzo Berlin.
So you know how like we have like the Rockefellers that kind of run the world, like the
Yeah.
surface
do you
planet.
think it's a play on words? They're Rocky Fellers. They're underground mining rock.
Oh, you're onto
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Dude, you're gonna have a black van outside your house.
Well, the ones that run the lizards down below, those are the Rumsfelds.
the Rumsfelds. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So I mean, the Rockefeller and the Rumsfelds, they're
yeah.
working together. The Rockefellers are slowly trying to depopulate the planet. So then the Rumsfelds, the lizards, can come back to the surface and reclaim what was theirs.
yeah,
All right, I take it back. That was the most schizophrenic 45 seconds of conversation ever recorded. Okay, so going back for just a second, because I thought of
God
a
damn
fond
you and your
memory I have.
Rockefellers.
I thought of a fond memory that I have with
I
a
really
mutual
like-
friend.
Dude, I think you're really
a
on
mutual-
something.
I might be, yeah. A fond memory I have. I was growing up, and I might have been like 15, and I lived down the street from a mutual friend of ours. And I was at his house one day, and I watched him use something called the low orbit ion cannon for the first time.
Oh yeah, I used to use that.
Yeah, and what it is, for those of you not aware, it was a script kiddie tool put together by a couple of people that is basically like a dedicated, like a. So it's like a GUI for DDoSing. So you just
Right,
type
it's
in
like
an IP,
hyper-pinging
you press
a,
play, and yeah,
address,
it just starts DDoSing like whatever IP you want, right? So it's super simple, like literally a baby could use it. And I watched him take down a regional server for a KFC in Louisiana, and it was on the news the next day. Like it was on quick. There's a magazine called QSR, which is Quick Service Restaurant Monthly or some shit like that. And they literally had an article about how KFC almost like they had to completely do, like they lost like weeks worth of inventory and all this other shit. And
you
I was like,
imagine?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Can you imagine how pissed the people were in the drive-through when they like couldn't take like payment orders and stuff?
I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube video out there. What you mean you ain't got no chicken? Why come you ain't got no chicken?
There's one guy out there whose sole mission on Earth is to just ensure that McDonald's never has a working ice cream machine, because one day he showed up and it wasn't working. And he's like, you know what? If I can't have it, no one can. And like since 2010, he's just been single-handedly fucking shutting down every ice cream machine across the country.
But the fucked up thing too is KFC probably pays some fucking consultant like 150 grand a year to make sure that ping is disabled now. Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's all it fucking did.
Yeah,
At
it's
least
crazy.
the original versions of it were like it just like we just flooded an address with junk requests and pings and shit. And like it's so easy to filter that out, which is that's still fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah, it was insane.
Before I had internet access, we would do low tech hacking with so the drive-throughs at restaurants used to all be on these like little short like radio frequencies, like I don't know what it was, like 35 megahertz. You could get like off the shelf walkie-talkies and just tune them a little bit, and you could talk through the drive-throughs. So we would just sit outside in the car and talked through the drive-through through the walkie-talkies, and then people would never get what they ordered, or they'd get so pissed off and they weren't talking to the person. Like there would be like 6 people on the fucking drive-through.
Breaker. This is big cheese.
But we were young, so it was never that funny. We'd be like, "Oh, you want the dick sandwich?"
Yeah. Extra cum.
What did you say, you little faggot? I'm gonna punch you when I get to the window. Like, what
No,
did you
you
do
won't.
it then?
Do you guys remember that movie Grind from 2003, the skateboarding movie?
I don't know that I ever saw it.
Okay, so it's a movie about skateboarding. This guy wants to enter like the X Games, and he just goes around the country and stuff. But I got my first ever life hack from that movie, And I must have been like 14 when I first deployed it, and I was shivering. I was so scared I was gonna get arrested. There's a scene in the movie where they go to like a Burger King or something. They go to the garbage cans outside, and they fish through the garbage can for a couple seconds, and they find like a receipt, and they come back in with a bag from the garbage and the receipt, and they're like, "Hey, my order was wrong," and then they just get free food. And I was
The
like, "No
hustle.
shot that actually works, right?" And so
Well,
me and my friend tried it one day when I was like 14. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've maybe stolen $5,000 worth of fast food, like in my life, just using that one tag. It works everywhere. I don't know if it still does. I stopped doing that when I got a job, but man, that shit kept me fed throughout the majority of my teenage years. It was so
Well,
sick.
fucking Donovan. Uh, what the fuck was it?
Donovan Strain.
Yeah, the hustles.
Yeah, he used to have a whole bunch.
Those are fucking awesome.
I remember in high school, we would go to fast food restaurants and get the drink cups and then keep them. Cause then like someone would be like, "Oh, we're going to fucking Taco Bell," so we just grab the Taco Bell cups. So you didn't have to buy drinks. You just walk in and fill the fucking cup.
Right. Yeah.
We used to do shit like that, but
You remember?
we just raw stole things.
Remember swapping beer bottles out at Walmart for
Yes.
beer bottles?
Yes,
and then
we
doing
would-
self checkout.
So when self checkouts were first introduced, we would take like 6 packs of root beer and then swap it with beer bottles and just go scan it because it weighed the fucking same. So
That's
it would
smart.
just ring up as root beer and then we would walk out with beer. We did that shit pretty much all the time. Like,
Why doesn't
Yeah.
that still work?
it probably does if you're so as long as the weight is the same, the scales are much more sensitive. And I don't even know that they had scales at first.
no,
They didn't even
just
have scales. You just fucking scanned and went. Like it was people used to just steal shit basically because it was so easy.
Yeah,
back then.
you could just like if you went up with a cart full of shit, like you could put so much in a bag, like extra, like scan it. As long
Right.
because they always had somebody like watching. So like as long as you kind of like were sleight of hand about it, it wasn't too bad. But
People were always racist because I would look like white trash or something, and they would stop me. I got stopped at the door of Walmart almost every time I went to Walmart. So even to this day, when I go, I always hold my receipt in my hand, and people are like, "Why do you do that?" I'm like, "Cause they're gonna fucking stop me." They always used to stop me. I don't know. I looked like scum, and I was like fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in a Walmart buying banquet meals
Yeah.
and fucking pizza. So, but even when I wasn't doing anything wrong, like I never really fucked around that much. Just the beer bottle swap, and of course the old ring up a banana and get a PlayStation or whatever. But sure. It's
The
fair
closest thing I
game.
did to something like that was back when I started playing League of Legends a long time ago when it was first getting big. The company that makes it, Riot Studios, didn't really have like a dedicated support team. And so they had all these gift cards for like in-game currency. And so I went to Best Buy and I bought 3 of the cards that were $20 each, so $60. I immediately I walked outside, I scratched them off. I entered the points on my friend's laptop and I got them. And I walked back in like maybe 10 minutes later and I was like, "Hey, these don't work." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I entered them in, they don't work." They go, "Oh, we should call the number." I'm like, "I did, no one's answering. Can I just get new ones?" And they're like, "Okay." So the manager had to come over. She sat down and she sat on hold with some third party, I'm sure Indian company, waiting like 15 minutes for someone to answer. No one did. And then she finally just gave me 3 new cards. I came back the next day and I was like, "Hey, these still don't work." And she's like, "Okay, I guess it's just a bad batch of inventory. I'm sorry. You want a refund?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So she gives me $60 and that's probably the closest to that type of thing I ever did. I had a friend
No.
that I worked with at Verizon, my old supervisor, who he used to work at I can't remember what it was. It was some big like retail hardware shop that was like limited to Ohio, I think. So think like an Ace Hardware type of deal. And I don't remember the exact story, so I'm probably gonna fumble it. But essentially, so like American Express used to have these gift cards, and I'm sure they still do. But you could buy like like an American Express gift card or whatever, and just dial in how much money you want to put on it at the register. And so like the person that was giving you the gift card had to be the one to dial it in. And so you'd be like, yeah, I would like a gift card, make it out for $100 or whatever. So one day his friend realized that he put in the wrong amount accidentally. He put in like, I want to say like $500 instead of 50 by accident. And he saw it in like the inventory list and nothing happened. He waited like a week to get in trouble. Nothing happened. So he's like, oh, okay. So he would have his friends come in, his roommate would come in, and he would buy an American Express gift card for like $10, and he'd have the guy put in $10, but he would put in like 100, and then eventually he started doing like 1,000. And my friend told me that after about a year or so of doing this, a year or two, the guy eventually funneled through like maybe like $180,000 worth of
Jesus
gift cards.
Christ.
And a representative from American Express showed up to that branch and was like, yeah, we've been noticing some weird numbers coming from this place. They sat him down and talked to him, but because he was doing it at a register and not with like his own thing or anything, they couldn't prove it was him because those registers were never locked to like users.
Oh,
So he got away with it like scot free.
lucky
Like,
bastard.
Jesus.
yeah, like just like a easy 200K in the back pocket over the course of the year, just scanning fucking American Express gift cards.
Do you
Yeah, man,
remember
there's
when
so many
couponing
different ways you
first-
could take advantage of the convenience shit that people are doing nowadays to make a ton of money.
So, I don't want to give away all my old hustles because most of them aren't that applicable anymore. But like, here's one that still kind of works if you do it at like the right Walmart. Way back in the day, I never did anything outrageous, but when stores started price matching shit, what I do is go in another store and open it on a web browser on a phone. And I didn't even have a phone, so like I'd have to be in a store that had Wi-Fi and I had like an iPod Touch, and I would edit the HTML of the live web page
I
to
have done
change the
this as
price.
well.
Yeah,
I've
and
done
then I
this
would
as
go
well.
up and I'd be like, "This is their price," and then they'd look.
I
and
really
they'd see
didn't
it's
want to
their
talk about that
website.
one because that
Yeah.
still works as
It
of
still
what do you
works.
think, like
That hustle
6
still
months
works,
ago.
you guys. Like, if
It
you guys
still
wanna get,
works.
like,
Yeah.
and as long as you do believe, like, don't fucking go and be like, "Oh, it's a $7 PlayStation 5." That's
Yeah.
never gonna fly. But if
Yeah.
you like knock $100 off, never.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
even question.
No, yeah,
it.
the amount of like
They'd be like, "Oh,
RAM
okay."
and fucking power supplies and like just like spare parts I would get for easily 70-80% off has been absurd. Because, yeah, the
So
price
that was-
matching shit is ridiculous.
Price matching hustle like that. But do you remember when couponing first started hitting, where people were doing fake coupons?
See, I was never super into that. Like, I could
the
never
first
fuck
time-
with
I
the
never
catch me
did
if
it,
you can,
so-
scraping the logo off and putting it on. I never
Right,
did that shit.
I don't do that because I don't like dealing with people. Like, the fucking furthest I would go is the price matching thing. Because the worst thing they'll do is say no. Like, you're not really, like, if they're like, oh, or if they pull it up on a different machine and they're like, well, that's not what I see. And I'm like, well, I don't know, location data. And then like, you walk
Yeah.
away. But the couponing shit, I remember when it first hit 4chan and people were printing, like, you take this to a Toys R Us and it'll scan. Like, they were, like, legitimately doing fraudulent coupons that would scan as manufacturer. They knew how to write the barcodes. They would scan as a certain manufacturer coupon. People were getting free Xbox 360s.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that shit blew my mind. Like, oh my God, you just print that and you go to the store and they're like, because I knew what a manufacturer's coupon was, but I didn't really know the logistics of it till I saw that. And then I'm like, all right, why is this working? And then I'm like, holy shit, they don't even check.
Yeah.
But I know they've cracked down on it super hard because I had a legit manufacturer coupon and it was a pain in the ass to use at Walmart. So I was part of a lawsuit against Starkist Tuna. Because, like, long story short, I was a big tuna connoisseur and those motherfuckers were skimping on the tuna. So, 8 years later, I finally got my settlement check. And it was like, you can get $5 or 10 free cans of tuna. I'm like, give me the tuna.
Give me
So
the
I go
tuna.
I go to the
my God.
register with all my cans of tuna and my fucking coupon that the lawyers sent me. And
Mr. Starkist
Yeah.
himself signed off on it.
The fucking dolphin came up and like, chicken of the sea or whatever, my ass. And, like, sign that shit. And I go to register and it's like not ringing up, and they're like, "What the fuck is this? 10? Like, did you like it's real?" Like and they're like, and the cashier asked me something, and I'm like, "No, there was a lawsuit. They weren't doing it right, so I sued."
Two security guards are dragging you out of the fucking the store. Yeah, there was a lawsuit.
The fucking cashier goes, "Shut the fuck up." She's like, "I wish I did that." I was like, "I know, right?" They had to like call a manager to run the coupon, and then like, it's legit. I'm not trying to steal 10 cans of tuna, bitch. I got Kate. Like, I just want my shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so funny.
Do you remember our one buddy that used to love modding Xboxes?
Yes.
And his super awesome hustle?
Yeah, there's a...
He'd buy one, what was it exactly? He'd take the hard drive out and return it to like a Walmart or a Sam's Club because those hard drives are so like valuable.
He would like get like non-working ones.
Oh yeah.
And he'd swap parts and then take them back. He would do like, we would go to the store. Back when Toys R Us was a big thing too, and he'd like ask to go in the back to scan the inventory to try to find the oldest dates because he's looking for specific firmware on them and stuff. There was I don't know if we can get into that because that was shut down by the federales. Like
Yeah.
that was a legitimate the feds came. Like it wasn't like, and it's not like, you know, like everybody likes to talk shit. Like this was literally FBI field agents were like,
yeah,
we froze your bank account. So,
oh yeah, I do remember that. That was one of the coolest hustles, other than like the one at Taco Bell where you can instead of spinning the stupid thing, you shake it and you can get your free burrito that way.
Yeah.
You know, but between that and the Xbox fraud those are my two favorites.
So there's still the Plinko pimpin' video online.
Yeah.
It does still exist where I narrated the old hustle for how you drop the coin in at Burger King to get a free Whopper like every single time using you slide like a clear plastic straw so they can't see it because they'll watch you do it but they can't see the straw, and then you use the straw to guide the coin onto like, it's like the Plinko machine if you ever saw The Price is Right.
But there's a little slider at the bottom, so you got to try and catch the coin.
But you can like stuff a straw in there to guide the coin onto it to catch it, and so yeah, our homie Shay had that down to an art, and I narrate. The video's still on, so if they still have those machines at Burger King, you can get a free Whopper, and then you can go right back up and get a free drink and a free fry every single time you can eat for free.
And even if they had caught on to it, there's a whole new generation of kids that like. Especially with COVID, they weren't allowing people in the building for a while there, and I'm sure those employees weren't sticking around. So, yeah, there's a whole new generation of people that have no fucking clue what it is.
Right. I can't believe anyone even gives a shit, to be honest.
I wouldn't.
Like, right.
I gave away so much food when I worked at Dairy Queen, like, it didn't fucking matter.
I did when I worked. That was the best part about working at the deli is, like, people who were nice, I'd give them extra food, or I'd, like, put them onto deals or something. Like,
yeah.
And people who are assholes, I never fucked with people's food. That's a line I wouldn't cross.
Yeah.
But like I would do something petty.
Yeah.
Like to fuck it up, like either overcharge them or like not give them one wing or something stupid, like whatever. But like I would never. I don't know. I just like I'll do a lot of things. I'd probably kill somebody over a minor, like a really minor offense.
Yeah.
But I'd never fuck with their dinner. Like that's the line I won't cross. That's not.
You're a principled man.
Right. I wouldn't fuck with a man's food.
Yeah.
I've never worked in the like the restaurant industry, and I still grapple if that's a good or a bad thing, because I think there is definitely some there's some credence that has to be lent to being treated like an actual slave by people at a drive-thru.
It's like being a Mason. It's like being like we're all part. Anyone who's worked in food service is like part of a secret brotherhood.
Yeah,
you have this
and
thing where you
I am
jealous
of that, but I'm also thankful that I've never had to like talk to some fucking stepmom with 3 kids in the back, telling her what a Happy Meal is. Like I would sooner light the whole place on fire.
Dude, I was 19 years old and some bitch came in screaming, "The food here gave me food poisoning. I'm gonna sue you." I'm like, do you want chicken or not? Get the fuck out. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with it. Why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Like, she went up to me. I'm like, I'll catch you outside in a minute. Like, you.
I worked at a pizza restaurant for like a week and a half.
Dude, I remember that.
Yeah.
Godfathers.
Yeah. Okay, the place was so mismanaged. There was never anybody in there. It was all delivery orders, which whatever, fine. I wouldn't say it was the worst part, but it's the weirdest. There was a dude there. He was slow.
The fucking Yu-Gi-Oh champion duelist. No, dude, I remember this. Oh shit.
I need to be let in on this. What's going on?
So, you remember the card game Yu-Gi-Oh?
Of course.
Okay, so this dude had his own, I don't even know what you call that, dual wristband.
He had the fucking, that fucking thing they wear on their arm with the cards?
Oh, yeah, the fucking deck battling thing? Yeah.
Yeah, the dude had that legitimately at work at the pizza place, like on his arm, the fucking card thing on his arm.
I'd be making pizzas, and I'm not even kidding. He's like pulling cards out and like looking at them, and he's like, I don't know if you want to do that. I'm like, what, put pepperonis on this fucking thing?
Dude, I remember. I still tell this story to this day.
He was a slower fella, but I mean, it was so funny. Like, he would ask me, "Oh, you want to duel after work?" And I'm like, I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh, dude. I don't know. And then he'd tell me, "Oh, I got this rare card, and I got this rare card. This is the deck I built today." I was like,
so the story I remember.
yeah.
And I remember because I remember coming there a couple times to see you while you were working. And I remember one time, like, almost flipping a table over going, oh, shit. Because he went up to you and he's like, do you want to duel?
Yeah.
And you're like, nah, I'm good. And he goes, yeah, good, because you'd lose.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit.
That's so fucking badass. That's so goddamn cool.
So at the time, of course, I'm like kind of like hating. Like, I mean, the dude he was a little special, so I wasn't like hating him. It was whatever. But now, as like an adult, I'm like, God damn, dude, that dude was in his own world and didn't give a fuck.
Did not give a fuck.
It's so
Like,
it sounds so nice to just carry around your fucking battle deck, fucking armband and just walk around challenging people. That's so
all
sick.
he did. He would
That's
box
so sick.
pizzas and ask me to duel. Fuck, dude.
So
Fucking.
I had a stint where I don't know if either of you guys know this actually. When I was in high school, I worked part-time at the lowest rated. You might not know which one it is, but it's the lowest ratings television station in the city.
Okay.
And I worked as a production assistant, which meant I would handle like the teleprompter, I would hand out scripts, I would sometimes work the camera and stuff. And that was like the busiest I'd ever been in my life. I had a girlfriend, I was doing school full time. I worked that job for like 20 hours a week. So by the time everything was all said and done, it'd be like 10 o'clock and it's the final show. And they're like, yeah, you're on prompter. I'm like, all right, cool. And what prompter is you just sit down at this chair and you have like one of those old Atari controllers in front of you that's just a knob that you turn right and left. And that changes the speed at which the text. I used to fuck with the anchors so bad. Like,
I wonder why it was
like
the
anytime
lowest
you
rated.
see an anchor on live TV look down at their paper, that means that the person handling prompter is fucking up because they don't see what they're supposed to be reading on the thing. So they'd come up after me after the show, be like, what's going on with prompter? I'm like, it's just on the fritz. I don't know. And like sometimes I would just like it'd be so cold in that room and I'd be so tired that I would just have like a hoodie on. I would put my hood over my head and I would just fall asleep like 5 minutes into the show and just let the prompter roll on medium. And I'd wake up when it was done and everything had been totally fine. And I'm like, holy shit, this is insane. But yeah, that was probably one of the cooler jobs I've ever had, was like working in a news station. It's also what got me into smoking because like here's the craziest part. Like in between commercial breaks, everyone would run outside for a cigarette. And those commercial, like they had it like down to an art. Like you'd light your cigarette halfway out the building, you take like 2 or 3 drags outside, puff 2 or 3 drags, stomp out your cigarette, run back inside, get back to your seats. The anchors are like puffing themselves down, making sure there's no snow or dirt on them, and boom, we're back from commercial. And it was, yeah, it was so fucking crazy. Um, One time, and I still remember this saying because it was so funny. We had like God, and here's how boring this fucking city is. The like special news segment of the week was about this lady that had her own business where she created like custom bras for people. And the whole time you're working, no matter what position you're in, you've always got a headset on, or an earpiece so you can hear the director and the sound guy. And they came to a part of the segment where the lady was like, "Yeah, so we make them in cup A," and she'll show like a tiny little bra all the way up to like triple Z or whatever the fuck, and it's like this enormous fucking bra. And all I remember is like it's all muted in the studio because it's like a pre-recorded segment. All I remember is she shows off the huge bra, and the director, who must have been like 60 years old, is like, "Holy shit, those are some big ass older over the shoulder boulder holders." And everyone in the fucking studio lost their shit laughing for like 30 seconds. And finally we get back off the segment and everyone's like wiping tears out of their eyes. It was so funny.
That's pretty tight. My only experience is we had a friend working at a CBS affiliate who snuck me in at like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we went into the recording booth so I could rap
Nice.
in the fucking actual booth at a CBS station.
That's sick. That's tight. Oh yeah, that's good radio.
Sorry, I was pulling
You're good.
an opie.
I was deciding whether to cut it there or not. I was gonna make a special correspondent Michelle Obama joke, but then
I do want to talk about the dead internet thing for a little bit if you want.
Oh yeah.
yeah, if you want to get into that, we can. Oh, actually, yeah, I was gonna bring. So earlier when you talked about, like being too young to explore the earth, being too, whatever, you know what the fuck.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
You won't get to explore the stars. You're actually seeing like shit posting on the internet now. I don't think it's something people are going to be doing much longer. Not that people won't troll and shit post, but that you're watching an erosion of freedom on the internet, and you're watching it become more and more walled off and segmented into like you don't freely use the internet anymore. You go through like a major tech company and their channels.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon, people aren't going to grow up with the internet being this like fantastical place where we can all connect and like it's just going to be the same methods of control and things that have always been. Like it's going to be like the Apple App Store for everybody. Like you won't actually like get to do free. You won't be free on the internet as the average person. And so what you're doing now is actually, I think, valuable and won't exist, maybe 50 years, 100 years. But I think that there won't be places where you congregate with free speech. You'll have to have technological know-how and a want to get out of the main system.
Yeah, like a pirate radio type of thing.
Yeah. Or just like you have to jailbreak an iPhone to get another app on it that's not from that store. Like you'll have to go out of your way to do it, and most people won't. They'll only use official things and see official news and use official things. And if they get banned from them, then too bad. They're just done. There will always be competitors. There will always be people playing different sides. You'll find a home somewhere. But, the whole like being a console cowboy in cyberspace, that shit is It's already almost long gone. And so getting into like the whole like dead internet theory, where like most of the internet has people like to say it's ceased to exist. I don't think that it's ceased to exist. It's just that everything's been so locked into these small communities. Like everything died because of Reddit. Like, why would you ever go to a forum when there's a subreddit for everything? It's just more convenient, right? But how much shit on Reddit is just news aggregates by bots and posts by bots? There's tons of it. Karma farming bots and accounts that you're getting more and more to the point where you go into a thread and you see what looks like real interaction and it's just bots. And how do you know when you go on a piece of news that it's not all cyber warfare? That like any of those people are real people? And they're not government operatives. They're not AI. They're not, you know, it's how do you even know you're talking with real people anymore? You like, you don't have like,
yeah, I always wondered about how CAPTCHAs exist. Like, how does a computer software write a piece of software, or how does a person write a piece of computer software that can't be solved by computer software? That never made sense to me. I'm sure there's some math and everything behind it, but that shit, there's no chance there's no chance that's as effective as like people think it is.
Well,
I think there should be a system
more complicated
where, like, if you sign up for, like, let's say Reddit or Facebook in the future, instead of a CAPTCHA saying like, "Are you a robot?" and you click no or whatever, you should have to like
deposit a specimen.
like a yes, but there should be something on your computer or your iPhone. Like every iPhone should have like a tiny 1 inch by 1 inch like serrated dagger that pops out right by the USB port. And to prove you're not a robot, you have to slide your thumb across it and give it blood. And
like
then it will like process your blood and be like, okay, human. And then that's how you get to access those sites. That would be super tight.
Dude, that's I'm gonna have to start. I'd start being a vampire. I just start using other people's blood.
But no,
I mean, imagine
no website would want to do
people.
that.
Like you get Mark Zuckerberg's blood in a vial, and now you have access to all of his shit. I think about this stuff a lot, like different concepts for. It's mostly for D&D, like ways I can create conflict in the world. But then I actually equate it to like real life, and I'm like, oh, that's way more likely than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, so I would be like, so what I would be doing is like calling like prostitutes and then like paying them triple to like try to infiltrate like famous and rich people and like get their blood and hair and stuff and like collect their semen samples and then like deliver them to me afterward. Like I'm like, they're like, I don't want to do that. I'll pay you triple. They're like, oh shit, I'll get $75. I'm like, hell yeah. If you do it.
I would open up an online like underground a darknet forum called the Phylactery, and it's just pictures and like videos of me getting like people of influence's blood. That'd be so sick.
That would be.
We just have to find where it's all stored at.
Right.
It's already out there. I'm know there's a government agency that's got it all. I mean,
so I didn't want to like, you know, spoil it, the secret of it, but I do know where it's stored. It's in a sub-level basement belonging to the home of none other than esteemed former First Lady Michelle Obama's house.
God
and
damn it.
she has blood on every single person of interest in Congress and in big power.
I'd believe it. I wish she would call us back.
Yeah. What is she, a fellow? What is that? A felon botanist? Someone who takes blood? Whatever. A nursing vampire.
Nosferatu with a degree.
There we go.